American education. Time to transform the American curriculum. Throughout my research, I came upon the question, should schools transform their curriculum to embrace a more ethical and diverse learning experience? And my thesis is, in the 21st century, schools should meet the needs of a growing multicultural student body and transforming pedagogy and curriculum to become more culturally responsive. Matthew Henson, an African-American explorer, was arguably the first man to reach the North Pole. On his journey with Captain Robert Peary, Henson had reached the North Pole, but is not known for his discoveries. This is arguable because even though he was the first man to reach the North Pole, his credit for his discoveries was taken by white Captain Robert Peary. Having a focus on race and culture in the classroom would entice the students to continue the urge for having a career path in education, since it would be known that they are still being represented in the world and acknowledged by the world. Henson was not himself acknowledged by the world because of his race. Even though he is an African American who made important discoveries, it did not matter what he did. In Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail, he had said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Schools fail to implement the necessary aspects of student diversity to the classroom, which becomes an obstacle for student success. Educators today do not teach about what impacts African American or minority people have done for the country or for the world. Only what white people have done for the world. Bernard Harris, an African American man, was the first man to reach the moon. Everyone knows who Neil Armstrong is, the first white man to reach the moon, but no one knows about the important or the influential people such as Bernard Harris to reach the moon in 1995. The education system has erased race out of the curriculum and shows students that it is okay not to acknowledge race in the classroom. Howard Schultz, the former CEO of Starbucks, had mentioned, "I do not see color. There's only one race, the human race." With him saying this, he is admitting that he is not race conscious. This goes to say that when people are not racially conscious, they are living colorblind. They tend to be ignorant and insensitive when it comes to racially inclined problems. Since race is not a prominent topic in education, most people are more inclined to feel the need that race is not an issue. They feel that it is not prominent to what is needed for the American population. Martin Luther King Jr., a civil rights activist, had written in Letter from a Birmingham Jail, "Isn't segregation an exponential expression of man's tragic separation? It is not frequently approached or voiced that African Americans are important in the society that we live in today. Although such an important topic, it is often separated from the school's curriculum." Jeffrey Millen, a professor at the University of Arizona, had conducted an experiment to see the benefits of having a racially diverse curriculum in the workplace. Throughout his research, he concluded that people who have a racially conscious education have a better understanding of race and are culturally diverse and more critically thinkers than those who do not have race in the classroom. Teachers do not understand the culture of their students and therefore creates the formation of teachers being racially sensitive. Dr. Chris Emden, Associate Director of the Institute of Urban and Minority Education, had voiced his take on the teacher-to-student diversity and said, "Teachers don't necessarily look like or sound like or from the neighborhood of the schools. There's a lack of knowledge from teacher to student and their experiences so that they are not able to get the most out of their teachers and out of their experiences. Since public school educators do not know the experiences of their students, it makes it harder for educators to not become racially sensitive. Having a diverse curriculum fights the urge for white fragility." Robin DiAngelo, an American academic on whiteness studies, complimented this idea by stating, "I was trying to talk to white people about race, and the hostility was off the charts." With this being said, many people get a lack of racially based speak, which educators themselves do not feel the need to talk to their students about. They feel is irrelevant, and it is so sensitive that they themselves feel pressured to do anything that has to do with their culture and the race of their students. Mariana Manning, an associate professor of early childhood education, offered her opinion to fix the education system by stating schools must undo injustices rooted in racism and other oppressions. The starting point is to center teaching and learning on the values, experiences, and assets of diverse families and communities. A limitation to this could be that educators do not have the time, they don't have the patience to just stop what they're doing throughout their daily lives and go and educate themselves on their students and how they grow up, how they are, and how they act. In addition to this, even if they were to become more knowledgeable of a multicultural student body, there would still be an obstacle to overcome since white people do still tend to have a problem speaking on race. No matter how prominent or how much people talk, it is not enough to fix what is going on in society today. An implication to Manning's point would be that if the education system were to have a positive impact on race, it would be more effective to the student and they would get more out of their teacher. Seeing and hearing about more people of color will be more important for student success in the long run than they themselves not being able to see themselves, hear about themselves, or know about what goes on in their culture. Chris Endem suggests that the education should have teaching and learning focus on indigenous populations and racial diversities. An implication to this would be that all students that are more culturally sound and become more aware of the understandings of what minorities have to go through. In addition to that, because white people have so little experience with dealing and talking about race, it makes addressing it a problem for many white and non-racially based people. If students were to bring up what goes on in the world of minorities, there would not be such a cultural divide between teachers, students, and their experiences and their lifestyles. A limitation to this solution from Chris Endem would be that although this would be a great thing to implement to the curriculum, it goes to say that not all teachers would be willing to confound with all the new regulations and teach the students on how they know would be right and morally correct. Since race is such a prominent and such a sensitive topic, race and gender itself too would also affect themselves because they don't feel it's important, so they can't pass it to their students. Acknowledging the existence of false history and admitting the injustice of the white populations that have been towards the minority community would not be something that educators today would be willing to do. The education system in the 21st century has failed to acknowledge the existence of ongoing racial pedagogy and that minority students have to comply with. With the steady rise of a multicultural student body, public school educators need to be able to adjust and be ready to take on the challenge of becoming comfortable around, speaking around, and working with people from other cultures instead of just themselves. People who have not moved past the fact that race is not an issue today are living a life that will never be successful in the long run when you have to deal with talking and dealing with race as a whole. Thank you.
All right, Tazell, thank you. Okay, first question for you. How valid and reliable are the sources you've used? How do you know?
Well, throughout my research, when I had to look up all my sources, I came upon Chris Endem himself. He's definitely a reliable source that I used. Him and Mariana Manning, both professors of minority or childhood education in total. So I knew that they would be pretty reliable for one, because they were experts in their field, and having to see that they were supported, they had limitations, they had implications, they were both connected to each other and relevant to the topic.
Okay, thanks. And second, how does your conclusion respond to any of the other research or sources you examined?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, how does your conclusion respond to any of the other research or sources that you came across in your research?
When I went through my conclusion, it took me a while, but I had to find all the sources that were necessary to make my conclusion of my whole argument stronger. It was kind of hard to get to it. Like, at first I did use Chris Emden. Once again, I used Mariana Manning. I had to find more people and examples, like talking about white fragility. I had to find Robin DiAngelo, and just everyone to make my argument stronger. It just had to all connect and be based on the same topic.
Okay, all right, thank you.